Okay. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, my name is Ulysses. I'm the director of the credit repair department, personal credit. So, right now we will be attending the training for the funding, and also the purpose of the team are here if there are any specific questions or any updates that should be asked from those clients that is under in personal credit. We will be accommodating that today here on call.
Thank you,
And yes,
Ulysses. All right,
that's
thank
it.
you so much. Everybody, I apologize. I don't know why it was stating that it needed a password and some of you didn't get it. So I will talk to our team tomorrow to check on that email as to why it wasn't going out successfully. So this is our marketing manager. I'm sorry, our credit manager, Ulysses. He's the head of our credit department here at the Fanpreneurs. And of course, this is Michael. He's our engineer. Also in our credit repair department. So they are generally on with us every other week to give some updates on some things that we have if we are doing your credit personally as we move into funding, if we're working on your personal and business funding / credit. So we're super duper excited to have you here for that. Of course, this is being recorded, so you don't have to worry about it. Yes, I'm recording. I can't believe people are like texting me when they know I'm on. We are recording the call, so you guys will have an opportunity to go back and watch this recording. We do have a special guest today. Thank you. She is our new in-house person from 7 Ways of Passive Income. For she's going to be our trust person. So she's the head of the trust department in our company. So we are super duper excited to have Christina Yvette. So she will be answering questions, and she's actually going to present to you guys tonight. For those who are part of the program, some of you get 1 trust and some of you get 3 trusts. So we're super duper excited about Christina being here. She's been a part of the family the whole time. I'm like, I can't do everything. So this is where you have an opportunity to delegate for those. Hey, Christina, go ahead and do the doggone trust. So before we get started, she's not on here, which I'm surprised that she is not on here. But for those who know, I've been working on what's the young lady's name? Aretha's website for her to get started. So I'm still going to show this part because, you know, I want her to know that we sat up here and worked on her website. So for those who are part of the community, you kind of already know that part of it already. You know, we not only deal with the credit portion, but we're dealing with making sure you guys are creating a passive income. So we created her website, did her logo, all this stuff. So we're just finishing up some other things for her so she can launch and make sure she has for Father's Day. So I'm just adding more in for her. I'm super duper excited for her and her husband's website. So Aretha, when you watch the recording, you'll see this, or you know, we'll talk later on tonight as I am finishing up your website for Unified Beard and Skincare. So give it up for Miss Aretha. She followed the system. She said, I want to go ahead and start making passive residual through e-commerce. And then, of course, we have other things available for you, whether it is real estate, whether it's Airbnb, whether it's writing an ebook, whether it's trading and investing. We have those things available for you guys. Okay. So I'm going to turn it over to our new in-house trust advocate. She's going to talk to you guys about creating a trust. Okay. So Christina, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Dr. Tamara. Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be on here. I'm super excited to actually, get to know everybody who's going to be setting up a trust. And I just want you to know, first and foremost, that that is one of the best decisions that you have ever decided on, is actually investing in yourself and deciding to protect your assets, because The United States is a Sioux-friendly state, and so you need to be able to safeguard that wealth that you guys are creating, because like the brand says, that you guys are building legacies, okay? And you're not going to allow someone to snatch your legacy away because you made a mistake and decided to put your assets in your personal name. So congratulations. So I am a trust specialist, and I have been doing this since 2015, and I am partnered now with the Fanpreneur. So I will be setting up all of your trusts for those of you who have that service incorporated, okay? So tonight I'm going to just be going over briefly on trust, how to set it up, the things that you need, and the things that are going to be included in your trust service here, okay? So let me see if I'm able to
Yes, I have you on screen
okay,
sharing.
perfect. All right,
Yes, ma'am.
awesome.
But I just want to say something real quick. So if you are new to the community, we do require that you turn your cameras on. And some of you guys know this already. Michelle, I don't even why Joelle, what's going on here? Okay, Joshua, Mrs. Satira, hey. Okay, I see my guy over there, he in the car. Okay, hi Trisha. So you look gorgeous over there, honey. We got some new folks added to the family. Hey, we're so excited to see you guys. Hey, Stacy, it's been a second, girl. Hey, Miss LaDonna, you look gorgeous as always. So make sure you turn your cameras on. This is a friendly zone. It's a safe zone. And we want to make sure you guys are on. Hey, Steph. Hey, Kennedy. Hey, Rocket, Aviance, Valoria, girl, you at work? You at work, Valoria? Okay, Gail, hey, Joshua, you got your camera on? Okay, he's at work. All right, so we just want to respect, our new in-house, well, she's actually been with us for a minute, but you have screen capabilities, Mrs. Christina, so you can go ahead. This is about building you guys' trust. So please take copious notes. For those who don't have the trusted part of their package, you can get with us. We'll make sure that you have that. So that's not a problem. Just a quick shout out to those who do. Mrs. Trisha, Mrs. LaDonna, Mr. Joshua, I don't mean to say Mrs. Mr. Joshua, Mrs. Satira, all of you guys have the trust as a part, and Joelle have a trust a part of your package. Okay, so you guys definitely want to make sure you are paying close attention. Okay, all right, take it over, Mrs. Christina.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tamara. All right, so the name of I actually have a disclaimer. So I am not this is not legal advice or any tax advice. So I'm not a licensed attorney or a certified public accountant. So I am a trustee. I've been a trustee since 2015. So like Dr. Tamara said, I'm an advocate. So I teach people how to set up a trust and operate a trust. And the type of trust that that I'm going to be setting up for you guys is a non-statutory trust. So it doesn't fall within the jurisdiction of your state. So that means that you can actually operate this trust in all 50 states here in the United States, okay? And it operates under common law and contract law, which is the highest form of law. So it doesn't fall under legislative law, which is a extreme benefit to you guys, okay? And I am a trust strategist, like I said, and the reason why I got into trust is because I got into real estate. That was my first business. And being in real estate, as some of you guys are real estate investors, you know that it's a high liability business, right? Anything can happen in a property. People can slip and fall, your tenants can sue you, and people just want to take your asset away from you. And you don't want to be in the position to where you want to protect yourself after the fact. Okay, so you want to do it prior to. So that's the position that I was in, where I bought a beat up house and I had contractors in and out, and I knew that I had to, you know, safeguard that property. And so I put it under a trust, and I've been operating trust ever since and helping hundreds of people do the same. Okay, so we're going to dive into the different positions within the trust indenture and how we are going to set it up. Okay, so don't worry, guys, we're going to be setting this up together. Okay, so like I said, the objective is for you to know what a trust is, some tax strategies, who the contributors are with this agreement, how to operate it, which is the most important thing, because what I've seen in this industry and in our community is that we will, you know, buy a trust and then we'll never use it. We'll never transfer our assets. We don't know how to operate it. We don't know the first thing to do with that entity. So you guys are in, you know, in an ideal position, because, you know, with this service, you guys are going to learn how to operate it. Okay. And you guys are building legacy. So I will show you how to incorporate your trust in your legacy building. Okay. So the first thing that I want to show you guys is these companies, right? You got Amazon, you got Trump, you got Berkshire Hathaway, right? So these are billion-dollar organizations, and they pay close to no taxes, right? They pay, and they've been, you know, they've been public about it. They pay less taxes than their secretary, right? And so how do you do that? You do that by utilizing this tool, which is a trust entity, because per the IRS, you are able to, you know, you are able to not pay taxes as long as the funds stay in the trust bank account. Okay. So it actually is not going to trigger a taxable event for you. And then there's some other things that I'll go over in a little bit, so that you're able to reduce your tax liability down to zero, which is what a lot of us want to do, because some of us, quite frankly, are giving away half of our income, right? We are taxed at the highest percentage, and a lot of us don't know that if we save on taxes, that means that that's more money in our pocket that can go to investing, that can go to, you know, the inheritance of our children, that can go to us continuing on and building this generational wealth. Okay, so you really want to make it a point to structure yourself in the right way that you are going to be reducing your tax liability. You don't want to give half to the IRS, because, as you guys know, you know, income taxes and things of that nature are optional, right? They are voluntary, but we don't know that. Okay. So one thing I want to point out to you guys is, y'all know what the US dollar looks like, right? So this is the United States Federal Reserve note, right? So my question to you is, do you see the word trust in this, you know, in the dollar?
Mrs. Christina?
Yes.
I wanted to add something, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. You dive in whenever you need to.
I don't think you guys are understanding, and I didn't see anything drop inside of the chats when she said that it would defer taxes. Nobody said anything in the chat. I mean, like, who really wants to pay taxes? Does anybody want to pay taxes? Drop it in the chat. Do you want to pay taxes? Okay. So when Christina said that by having this particular trust, it's going to allow you to not have to pay taxes, I think that's a bomb drop right there. Okay. Now, she brought up the dollar. And for those who know, I'm a trader, I'm an investor. So when it says here in the fiat, which is the dollar, "In God we trust," I want you guys to be thinking about the trust. Okay. So I needed to mention that, Christina, because, you know, I just don't want it to be, hey, we're just giving the information. It definitely has to correlate, because some of us are actual traders that are a part of the community, and some of us are new to investing on that side, and some of us are building up the banks, which we're going to be talking about a little bit later. And I just want to make sure that they understand that this is where you have an opportunity to defer any taxes. When you put it into a trust, say it again, Christina, when it's placed in a trust,
Yep. So as long as the funds stay in the trust and you spend it in the trust, then it doesn't trigger a taxable event for you. So you don't have to pay taxes on the money that came in.
Okay. Back to you, honey.
All right, perfect. So, like Dr. Tamara said, right, you see the word trust in there. So you have to understand that the United States is a corporation and that they utilize trust entities as well. So if the United States of America is using trust entities, do you think that you should also be using a trust entity? And the answer is yes, because I'm not sure if you guys know, but the United States, they actually have you already under a trust from birth, right? From the minute that they issued you a birth certificate and a social security, they issued you a Sister-Q trust. So you actually already have a trust attached to your entity, okay? But now you need to be in the position to where you actually create your own trust, not a trust that was created by the United States for you. Okay. And then you operate privately. Okay. So we're going to get into that, but I just wanted to point that out to you. Like she said, right? The United States is utilizing a trust, and so should you. So right now we're in an economic crisis and they are, trying to go down to, digital currency, right? Which means that it's going to be in a position to where they have increased control. And the government, they do not want us to be independent. They want us to depend on government assistance. They want us to depend on the government for food, gas, resources, everything, right? And when you are actually creating a trust, then you are operating privately outside of the government, outside of their jurisdiction, outside of their control, which is not what they want you to do, right? They don't want you to be in a position to where, one, you live private, you have your land or your property owned by your trust, so they can't subject you to property taxes. They can't subject you to, abiding by the ordinances, and you're growing your own food, you're providing your own electricity through solar panels. They don't want you to be in that position. So you have to understand that, because this is a tool that you can use to empower yourself and your family and safeguard your wealth. Okay. So what is a trust entity? So it's an indenture. The other name for indenture is agreement, which pretty much means that it's a contract. It's a contract between several different parties. These parties are the grantor, which is the creator of the trust, the trustee, which is the person who controls the trust, the beneficiary, which is the person who benefits from the trust. Okay. And so there's hundreds of different types of trust. But with this type of entity, it's going to allow you to control your assets without being the owner of the assets. Okay. So the grantor, like I said, is the creator. So they are the person who actually puts the trust together for the benefit of another party. That other party is the beneficiary, which the other name for beneficiary is inheritor. Okay. So this individual or group of people, they have no control over the trust. So they cannot operate the trust. All they can do is actually benefit from the trust. So they are going to, one, receive the assets from the trust once the trust dissolves, because the trust actually has a duration. Okay. And you have to determine what the duration is. So, for example, you can actually decide that you want to operate the trust for, like, for example, a business trust typically is 25 years. A private family trust is 100 years, right? And you have to renew that trust at least 60 days before it expires. Once it expires, it's dissolved and those assets go to the beneficiary, okay? So that's why the beneficiary has beneficial interest in the trust, and at the end of the day, they are going to be receiving, distributions and things of that nature from the trust. For example, if the trust owns, 100 properties, they're making $100,000 a month, then they're going to be, the beneficiary is going to be getting distributions either monthly or quarterly. You decide, right? And then we have the controller or the trustee, right? So the trustee is the person who has full control over the assets. So you get to dispose of the assets however you want, which means that you can put assets into the trust, like a house, a car, a brokerage account, an insurance policy, precious metals, any type of equipment that you want. There's several different, hold on. There are several different types of assets that you can actually put into the trust. Okay, so the trustee is the fiduciary. They are the person who is dealing legally, lawfully, and actually represents the trust and can sign on behalf of the trust. So if you're going to go open up a bank account, it's the trustee that's actually showing up, signing the paperwork, handling the debit card, depositing the funds, withdrawing the funds, and doing, having the purchasing power. Okay. So as far as the appointed duties, the grantor, like I said, they create the trust. They are going to appoint the trustee, right? And they are going to transfer assets into the trust. And that's pretty much it. When it comes to a irrevocable trust, they are pretty much walking away from the trust because they didn't create the trust for themselves. Like I said, they created the trust for the beneficiaries. With the trustees, they are supposed to appoint a successor, meaning that you need to appoint someone to take over in the event that you expire, in the event that you become incapacitated, in the event that you are not able to operate the trust, because the trust needs to, continue to operate. So you do need a successor, and that person is going to take over when you are done with your trustee duties. Okay. The trustee also manages all the trust assets, like I said. So if you decide to put your primary residence into the trust, you can dispose of that asset however you want, meaning you can sell it, you can buy it, you can lease it, you can rent it. You'll be responsible for paying the mortgage through the trust funds and things of that nature. And then the trustee, and they have a lot of powers, but this is just, the gist of it. So they are also responsible for investing the trust funds, because you do not want the wealth to dissipate, right? You want the wealth to be growing and to be preserved. And so with that being said, you need to, invest the trust fund so that it grows, right? So that every dollar brings back a quarter, right? Brings back a friend. So the beneficiary, their responsibility is to actually understand the trust, right? They don't have no control, but they need to know what the duties are of the trustee, because they're depending on the trustee to be able to make those, make those executive decisions that's actually going to be growing the trust funds and preserving the wealth. So they need to know like what the mission is of the trust. They need to know pretty much all the contents of the trust and what the duties are of the trustee. And then you have a protector. So let's just say that in the future, you're no longer the trustee, but you actually hire like a third-party company to control the trust for you, for your beneficiaries. Then you want to appoint a protector that's going to watch over the trustee to make sure that they're dealing legally and lawfully, and that they're actually carrying out their fiduciary responsibility. If the protector finds out that they're not doing that, then they get to remove the trustee and appoint someone else. Okay. So like I said, there's different types of trusts. You have land trust for real estate. You have charitable trust for like your nonprofit endeavors. You have a living trust, which is pretty much your alter ego. It's for the benefit of you. Your testamentary trust, which is just like a will. You have your irrevocable and your revocable trust, which means that you can make changes to the trust. So the best type of trust to have that's actually going to hold up in court is an irrevocable trust. Okay. So how do we create a trust, right? One, you are going to determine what type of trust that you want to create, right? And once you determine the type of trust that you want to create, then you are going to figure out a trust name. So when it comes to naming the trust, you do not have to have the word trust in the name. A lot of people think that you do and you don't. If you are creating a business trust, then you can actually use other abbreviations like LLC, Corp, Corporation, Company, Co. You can use those things. So, for example, let's just say that you named your trust 123 LLC. So out there in the public, it's going to look and appear like an LLC, but it's actually a trust entity. That's the true structure of that entity. Okay. So you can name your trust whatever you want. You don't want to name it after yourself because it's like a dead giveaway, and you're using this entity so that you can protect yourself, so that people don't know what your net worth is and what assets you do own. So after you figure out a name, then you're going to appoint someone to be your grantor, because like I said, with an irrevocable trust, you are the grantor has no control. So you do not want to be in that position. You want to appoint someone to be the grantor on paper or the creator on paper. And this can actually be an entity. So for example, if you had an LLC, your LLC can be the grantor for your trust. Or if you have a sibling, a family member, someone who is actually able to notarize the trust once you are creating the trust. Okay. So you are going to appoint yourself as the trustee, and your beneficiaries, those are your next of kin. So typically those are your children and, your loved ones, whoever you want to inherit your wealth, and then a successor, someone to take over after you. So once you have created the trust indenture and you've figured out all of these different points that you're going to put into the agreement, then you have to notarize it. That's what makes the trust legal, is you actually notarizing it, and it needs to be notarized by the grantor and the trustee. So both parties need to get the document notarized. Once it's notarized, then it is legal and you can start operating the trust. So the first course of action that you want to do is you want to open up a trust bank account and you want to deposit some trust funds, right? And with that being said, what you're going to do is, let's just say that you want to open up your trust account with $100. That is going to be considered a loan, and it's going to be considered a loan from the trustee yourself to the trust. And the trust is going to give you a promissory note, and they're going to pay you back with interest. So that's the best practice when you are funding your trust. Okay. You can now open up your bank account with any bank. All banks use or are able to actually open up trust bank accounts. Okay. And you have to understand that this is an entity, so this is not you. So the best practice is for you to open up your trust bank account with a financial institution that you do not have a relationship with already. So not someone that you are already banking with, because then they're going to merge your personal with your trust, and you want to have that separation. Yes.
Okay, so I got to stop you on this one right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think they're understanding. So for those who are part of, for those, most of you are here are part of the community. So if you're a part of the community and when I said that you're going to do two things on your personal name, remember, she said something very important. Do not use your personal name, even if we have incorporated that name through an LLC. So if your name is Joe James .LLC, you will not create that as the trust. You do not want to put them together. That's the same thing as doing the sole proprietor EIN and your name as an LLC, and then you go get a trust. We want to be completely separate. We're trying to divide ourselves. Now we are the entity, so to speak. Okay? We are no longer the flesh and blood at this moment in time. We are the entity of this trust. And you do not want to commingle. That's like commingling your money when you're dealing with taxes. Okay? We do not want to do that. Does anybody have a question on this part right here? Because this is really, really important. You must stay separate from the trust. Otherwise, if you combine the trust, you're going to mess it up. Does anybody have any questions on this part right here? Any questions? Okay. All right, Mrs. Christina.
All right,
That
perfect.
was very important.
Very important. You do not want to commingle funds. You have to understand that your personal funds is different from your trust funds. Okay. So thank you for actually thank you for highlighting that because it's super important. So once you have your, trust bank account, like I said, since you are the trustee, you are the signer. So you're the one opening the bank account, depositing money, going to the ATM, you having your debit card, everything that you would do for your LLC or as a individual, you're going to do for the trust. You represent the trust now. After you are already operating the trust, have your bank account, you can apply for your EIN. So it's optional. You do not need an EIN because you have to understand this is a private entity. And so you actually applying for an EIN is actually disclosing to the IRS that you are, the responsible party. But because the trust doesn't have like an owner per se, you're just an authorized signer for the appointed time. It's okay, especially for banking purposes, because some banks are not going to let you open up a bank account without an EIN. So some people decide, yes, that they are going to do it, and some people decide that they're not. And it depends on the type of trust that you have too. So if you're operating a business trust, yes, by all means, get your EIN. If you have, your private family trust, then maybe you want to not, disclose that information that type of trust exists, because when you're applying for your EIN, you're pretty much letting the IRS know, here is the name of the trust, right? And so it hasn't been in the public records, and it's not going to be in the public records, but you're just alerting the IRS. Okay. So if you want it to be 100% private, then you want to, not go to that extent. Okay. So transferring assets into the trust, that's super important. And that's something that you need to do right away, because anything can happen. And I'm going to talk to you guys in a little bit about, avoiding probate and lawsuits and things of that nature. So when you're transferring assets, let's just say for a property, right? You have your primary residence, it's in your name, right? It's in your personal name. It's in, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, right? And so what you're going to do is you're going to get a quit claim deed, because you bought that property with a warranty deed, and you can just quit claim it, which signifies that it's a gift, right? You don't have to sell it to the trust and trigger a taxable event. That makes no sense. So what you're going to do is you're going to quit claim it, gift it to the trust for $1, right? And then and with that quit claim deed, you are the grantor. You're going to be signing over to the grantee, which is the trust. Get it notarized, and you have to, once it's notarized, you have to get it recorded with the county recorder's office. At that point in time, they're going to update the public records, and on the public records, you're not going to be listed as the owner anymore, which protects you, because I'm not sure if you guys know this, but if you go to your county and you put if you do a property search, you put your address, your name, your address, your phone number, everything's going to show up, right? So if somebody was looking for you, baby, they found you. If and then you can do it vice versa too. So if you do a property search and they just put your name and you own 10 properties in that county, guess what? They know your net worth now. They know that you own 10 properties. So you have no type of privacy whatsoever by operating with your personal name and, utilizing your Social Security for all of these assets, right? So you want to transfer your assets as soon as possible. So like I said, you can do your house, your cars, you can do jewelry, precious metals, your brokerage account, your crypto, all of these things can be housed and owned by the trust, okay? Which is going to protect you. So, and then, like I said, operate the trust. So these are the things that you're going to be doing when you're operating the trust, right? Investing, all of those things. So asset protection, right? You want to operate in the private. It's so important. That is the best way to protect yourself. There she goes.
Okay, can we go back to the other screen real quick? Because we actually had a question,
Yeah.
Mrs. Christina, in the comments.
Okay.
And that question stated, hold on one second. The question stated, can you explain the sole proprietorship difference to the trust again? No, I'm sorry. Let me go to the first question. Can you explain what you mean by putting $100 into the trust is equivalent to a loan? I know what
Yeah.
it is, but I need you to break it down just a little bit. And I want you to speak it as if, and guys, please don't take offense. This is not to be offensive. I need you to break it down as if they're in first grade. Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
So the trust is an entity. This entity, how is it going to generate, how is it going to generate money, right? You need money in order to generate money. So you need some type of startup capital, right? So typically what you're going to do is you are going to start, when you open up a bank account for your business and they tell you how much do you want to deposit in your bank account, you tell them $100, $1,000, whatever it is that you want. Right. So you have to give that startup capital to the trust so that the trust can start, investing and start operating. Right. Because, for example, you put your primary residence into the trust. The trust is now responsible for paying the mortgage, the utilities. They're now responsible for paying the maintenance, anything that is associated with that house that the trust now owns. It needs to come from the trust bank account. But how is it going to get that money? It's not going to get it out of thin air. You have to provide the startup capital. So with that being said, you are the one who's going to lend the funds to the trust, right? Whatever that particular amount is, there's no designated, set dollar amount, right? And so let's just say that you have a mortgage payment for $1,000. You're going to transfer that $1,000 into the trust bank account, and then you're going to pay your mortgage from the trust bank account, okay? But that money was your personal money. That money came from your W-2 job, right? So the trust is required to pay you back. So that's why you have to do the paperwork to have it as a loan. And so what you're going to do is you're going to do a promissory note. Just like how the bank makes you sign a promissory note when they're lending you, a personal loan of $5,000, you're going to do the same thing. You are going to create a promissory note, and that promissory note is going to be from the trust to your personal name, and the loan is going to be for whatever dollar amount. So the trust is saying that they are going to promise to pay you back the $1,000 plus interest within 12 months. It's an agreement. So you sign as the trustee, and then you're going to also sign as your personal name, and you're going to add that into your trust that you actually loan money to the trust. Okay, so that's that startup capital. And it's vice versa too. You can borrow money from the trust as well. So if the trust got $1 million and you need half, then the trust is going to lend you that money, and you're going to execute a promissory note. I hope that helped. I hope that helped with that explanation of the trust funds.
Okay, let me answer this other question in reference to, can you explain the sole proprietorship difference to the trust again? Remember, you as a person and you as an LLC with your name is not going to be associated with the trust at all. You want to keep it completely separate. Okay, you do not want to say Joshua Petrain Trust. Okay, and this is where we're going to go into creating your seal. Okay, we're going to create your crest. For those who are on Thursday night for the trust, this is, you guys, for those who are on Thursday night for the trust, who are part of that mentorship portion, you know, this is, we keep talking to you guys about, did you create your seal? Did you do your family crest? I'm sorry, guys. Did you do your family crest? These things are important because that's going to make, that's separate. So for example, Christina, tell the name of your trustee. I mean, of your trust.
One of my trusts, I have multiple. One of my trusts is called Ways to Wealth. And that's it. That's the name of the entity.
Okay, so you guys see, it has nothing to do with her name. It does not say Christina Yvette. It is something completely different. Okay, completely different. All right, so hold on. We have another question. Okay, we have another question. Is the trust account an interest-bearing account? And how does the trust account accrue interest? That's from Mrs. Trisha. Then I got a question from Ms. LaDonna. I skipped hers by accident. Can we answer that question, ma'am?
Yeah, so the trust account depends on the financial institution. So it depends on you and what account that you actually create. So yes, it can be an interest-bearing account. It could be a regular checking account. It could be a brokerage account. It could be a cash management account. So it depends on you going to the bank and telling the banker what type of account that you want to open and if they offer that type of account, right? Because you got Wells Fargo, you have Chase, you got Fidelity, you have all these different financial institutions. So that varies.
Okay. One of the other questions is the trust, I'm sorry, I got to go back to Ms. LaDonna. How would you open a bank account for the trust without an EIN or an SSN, Social Security? Now, we kind of went over that a little bit. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, Christina?
Yeah, so some banks actually don't require an EIN. So it goes back to what I said about it depends on the financial institution. So if you're going to go to Chase Bank, they require an EIN, so you're going to need an EIN. Right? If you want to have that banking relationship with them. If you don't want to bank with them, or because you don't qualify because you don't have an EIN, then you have to go to a financial institution that has one. So a financial institution that I know of that doesn't require an EIN is Truist Bank. They are not going to ask you for your trust documents. They are not going to ask you for an EIN or your Social Security. So like I said, it depends on the financial institution. They don't operate the same. They all have their, separate, rules, regulations. And sometimes they will tell you, hey, we need your trust documents. I will tell you not to provide your trust documents. You don't want to give that to anybody. That is private. That is your contract. But like I said, you will go to some of these banks and they will say, hey, we need to forward your trust to our legal department. At that point in time, you decline and you go to the next branch. So that is all a part of, operating your trust. But and it also depends, like I said, on these companies, if they're familiar with trust and if they even offer for you to have an account with them.
So if you can't get it done at one, then you take yourself on to the next. And if you're a part of the community, which 90% of you are, then you will come with me to the bank where I have actual relationships. That's why we do bank run days now, for that reason, because I have relationships with certain banks where they're not going to ask 10,000 questions because of the relationship. Okay, what's the difference between a PMA versus an LLC? And whoever the name, iPhone and X, you need to put an actual name or I'm going to have to remove you. Okay, and how do you set up a one-on-one? There is no one-on-one. If you're not a part of the community, you have to send a support ticket in. Okay, I know who you are, iPhone, but put your name on there. Okay, and I don't know who this X is, so That's weird. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Miss Christina.
All right, perfect. So the number one reason why you want to set up a trust is to protect your assets, right? And for you to operate in the private, right? That is just so vitally important. A lot of us, we are so focused on ownership versus stewardship, right? We're so focused on, yeah, I am the owner of my house, but it's not ideal for you to be the owner of your house, because then you're putting yourself in a position to where you are, you're liable to be sued, right? So you don't want to be in that position. So how can you protect your assets by utilizing a trust? Well, you can actually protect yourself from bankruptcy, from heavy taxations, from divorce, probate, lawsuits,
Hold up. You can protect yourself from what? Wait a minute. Ain't nobody dropped no mics. Ain't nobody said. I mean, wait a minute. Let me just stop the dang on screen for a second. Hold up. And y'all don't have your thing on. Roxanne, I don't even see you. Fun Logics, where you at? Lisa, what's going on? She just dropped something for those who were considering even possibly filing a bankruptcy. Mashanda, Shayna, Miss Yvonne, are you guys hearing what she's saying? Miss Terry, are you guys, Reggie, you on here too? Miss Dana, Leslie, are you guys hearing this? Miss Carradine, Kimberly, are you guys hearing this? I don't think you're absorbing this portion of it right here. Like for real, for real. Trisha over there smiling. You can see her smiling from ear to ear. Okay. This right here is important for those who were even considering filing a bankruptcy. This is where you have an opportunity to be protected. Okay, you can share your screen, Brad. I don't think anybody is excited, Christina. I'm not sure what's going on here. We're giving them the juice and they're not excited, okay?
I think they're speechless, okay, Dr. T, they are speechless. They're like, what? I did not know that I could actually protect myself from all of these things.
Yes.
So that's what it is. So I'm just gonna dive into a few of these. Let's talk about heavy taxation, right? So when it comes to heavy taxation, you guys might not know because y'all not dead yet, right? So y'all might not know that the IRS taxes you when you die, right? So you get an inheritance tax, you get a death tax, and you get an estate tax, okay? So that means that if you are leaving behind some money, that money is going to be taxed. Or if you have a insurance policy and you got a death benefit that's going to be paid out to your beneficiary, they're going to tax that death benefit. So the only way for you to avoid for that death benefit to be taxed is if you have the beneficiary be a trust. Okay, so that's one. And then two, whatever assets that you have will not trigger an estate. So for example, if you have your primary residence under your personal name and you pass away, then it's going to your estate is going to be taxed. If that primary residence is owned by a trust, then because it's not owned by an individual, it's not taxed. So you're saving heavily, right? One of the trusts that we deal with is a ministry trust, right? Which is a 508c1a designated trust. That is a tax exempt nonprofit trust. And that falls under the separation between church and state. So that means that you don't have to file for a 501c3. You do not have to file federal taxes, state taxes, any type of city taxes or county taxes or sales taxes, property taxes. You do not have to pay any of them. You are exempt from all of those taxes just by having this type of trust within your structure. So you want to have multiple trusts, and I will briefly talk about that in our next slide or two. Okay, so So that is so vitally important. And one example that I love to give is our boy Steph Curry, right? Everybody knows him. He's one of the best, basketball players, and he's young. And so he had a contract for $250 million. Do you know how much he paid in taxes because he lives in the state of California? He paid $148 million in taxes to the IRS. Like his tax return was in the public records.
What
So
you say? I'm sorry, what did you say?
He paid $148 million in taxes from his $250 million contract. It's insane. So now my question to you is, if Steph Curry was structured right to where he had trust entities in his structure, he would be saving that $142 million and not have to pay, not have to pay the IRS. So that money will be staying in his family, staying, for his kids. He can invest that money. There's so much that you can do. So you have to understand, you don't want to give half away. You don't want to give 30%, 40%, 50% away. So you want to put yourself in a position to where you're saving on these different taxations. Okay. Let's talk about divorce. So husband and wife, right? There's two ways that this can play out, but one scenario that I'll give you is, let's just say that you've been married for 10 years, right? And you decide to open up a trust without your spouse knowing. And you buy property without your spouse knowing, and that property is owned by the trust. Then 10 years down the line, when you guys get a divorce, everything that is owned by the trust is not subject to your divorce proceedings, right? So that means that whatever it is in your personal name between husband and wife, that's what's included in the divorce. But because the trust is a separate entity from you or from your spouse, it's not included. So it saves you, right? And that also, also goes for whatever property you decide to put into the trust, even during your marriage. So if you're married, even if your spouse knows about these assets, if you're married and you put, if you put your primary residence into the trust, right? And this is just, let's just say one spouse does that. Then at that point in time, if your other spouse wants half, or if they want to keep the house, they can't, because that primary residence that you guys live in cannot be included in the divorce because it's not owned by you. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Let's talk about probate. Probate is when your primary residence or whatever assets that you possess is in your personal name. So let's just say you have a house and you expire tomorrow. How is that house going to be transferred to your children's name if you kept it in your personal name? A lot of us, we don't think about this. We don't think about the transfer of wealth. We are so busy making the money, making the millions, creating generational wealth, but we don't know how we're going to transfer it. And we have everything in our personal name, which, like I said, is doing a disservice to your family, because the only way that asset can be transferred over to your child's name is by going through probate, by going through the court system. That is the only way that property is going to be deeded over from your name as an expired person to your children or your next of kin, whoever inherits your property. Okay, so if you already know that you want your child to have your property, you don't have to drag them through this entire probate process, because it's a lengthy process, right? With probates, you have the courts involved, you have lawyers that need to represent your estate, and those are extra fees, right? You have lawyer fees, court fees, you have like the estate taxes and fees. So you want to avoid all of it. The only way to avoid probate is by having a trust, because it doesn't trigger a transfer of ownership. The trust owns the property, and when you expired, there's no transfer because your children are already the beneficiaries, okay? So that is how you want to put yourself in a position, have your affairs in order, to where you are not doing a disservice to your family. Because at the end of the day, if they're losing a loved one, if they're losing you, which is a human asset, you don't want them to be grieving and going through court and fighting each other out at the same time. You want everything to be owned by the trust. And in the trust, you have your rules, your regulations, your restrictions, and everything that you want them to carry out on your behalf, okay? Lawsuits, right? Lawsuits are one of the major benefits of having a trust, because with that, it just depends on the type of lawsuit, right? But let's just say that you have a trust, and this trust is a non-statutory trust, right? So that means it operates under common law and it doesn't fall within the jurisdiction of your state. So let's just say that you're in the state of Georgia, and the property's in the state of Georgia, and the trust owns that particular property. And let's just say somebody had a slip and fall in that property, right? Because that trust is a non-statutory trust, and your local lawyers are actually their jurisdiction is within that state, right? Their jurisdiction is in Georgia, right? So they can't practice in Florida or New York or anywhere else. They can only practice in Georgia, right? So with that being said, if they if somebody tries to sue your trust, that lawyer can't represent you because it's a non-statutory trust. It has to go to the Supreme Court, right? It has to be seen by that judge because it falls under contract law, which is the highest type of law in this country, right? It's not legislative law, which can be, carried out in your, local county or your local city, okay? So with that being said, in certain situations and scenarios, if people see that the asset or the business is owned by a trust, they won't even try it. Some lawyers are going to reject you and say, I can't even take your case. So you want to be in that type of position to where they know that they are, that they, one, can't represent you, or two, that they don't want to go to the extent of even initiating a suit against you. So some of those attempts die right there. Okay, but can a trust be sued? Yes, but it's very hard. And it also depends on the type of trust. Like I said earlier, if you have a living trust means that you are the grantor, you are the trustee, and you are the beneficiary. So you are looked at as that trust being an alter ego. So that trust is not as protected as an irrevocable trust. Okay. All right, so let's just dive into the wealth building formula. And I know that you guys, with the Fanpreneur family, that you guys are into investing, you guys know a lot about what I'm about to touch on, okay? So let's talk about structure, right? Structure is super important. I know a lot of you guys are entrepreneurs, business owners. You guys have LLCs, S corporations, things of that nature, right? Like I said, with those type of entities, you created it through the Secretary of State. You may not know this, but because you created it through the Secretary of State, that means that the state created it for you. That means that they have control over your property, over your business. They can shut your business down tomorrow if they wanted to. Right? If you decide that you are not going to pay them their annual fee, or whatever type of fee that they are assessing, they're going to dissolve your entity, right? So you are giving the state control over your business. So that's one thing. The second thing is that you are now in the public records, right? Because if you go to to the Secretary of State and you type in your business name, then what comes up is you as the owner, right? Your first and last name, your address, your email, all of these things, right? And vice versa. If you search under, owner, and you put in your first and last name, every single business entity that is active or dissolved is going to show up. So they're going to know that you are the owner of that business. You want to put yourself in a position to where you're protected, to where you have that first layer of protection, which means that you want to remove yourself from the public records. You want to remove yourself as the owner of that LLC or S corporation. And now you want to list your business trust as the owner of that entity, meaning that you're going to do an amendment and you're going to remove yourself as the owner and you're going to now add the new owner as the business trust, okay? And I'll just give you a brief example. President Jimmy Carter, he did this, right? Once he took his presidency, in order for him to avoid the conflict of interest law, he actually removed himself as he owned a peanut business. He removed himself as the owner and he put a common law trust as the owner in order for him to get around that, because now he wasn't the owner on paper anymore. So that's what you want to do. Yes, Dr. T.
Okay. Don't be mad at me. Okay. All right. So, Trump said something when he was in office. Does anybody recall what he said about your bills being paid, your trust? Does anybody recall when he said that? This is what he's talking about right here. This was the reason why it was so hard for them to get into his files, because a lot of it was under an actual trust. Okay. This is the reason why it was under an actual trust. So what she's explaining to you, the blueprint, okay? And 90% of you are a part of the mentorship program. And a little bit less than half of you are getting the trust. Joshua, Sylvia, Dana, the Logans, Mrs. Trisha, Mrs. Leslie, I'm forgetting a couple of names on here. You guys have the trust. That's what you guys wanted. Okay, Terry, that's who it is. Terry, you guys wanted the trust to be a part of your program. And so this is where you have an opportunity to get the business, the private family. These are tax exempt. You're able to protect yourself. Who wants protection? Drop it in the chat. Like, seriously, who wants to be protected? I've been saying this the whole time. Okay. All right, back to you, Christina.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Dr. T. So, with that being said, you want to create a business trust. If you are in business, not everybody's in business, not everybody's an entrepreneur, right? So it doesn't make sense for you to have a business trust. But if you are in business, if you have an LLC, an S corporation, you want to create a business trust. You want that business trust to be the owner. You want to conceal your identity, okay? So now that business trust is going to act as the holding company or the parent corporation, or another word for it is umbrella company, right? So the business trust is going to actually own all your other entities. So I know a lot of us are serial entrepreneurs. We have 4 and 5 different LLCs. So you can have one business trust be the owner of all 4 or 5 of those LLCs that you own, okay? That is vitally important. If there's anything that you take away from tonight, it's that. Remove yourself, because you are doing business, right? You're in commerce, anything can happen, especially high liability businesses like real estate, trucking, things like that, right? You want to remove yourself, because one thing that a lot of us don't know, we're so we're so gravitated towards the popular entities, which are the LLCs, right? Everybody's getting an LLC. Why? Because it has limited liability. But the key word in LLC is limited. So it doesn't say full liability. So what do you think might happen? So if your business is sued and it goes to court, the judge can pierce your corporate veil. If that
wait. You just gonna breeze. Repeat. Put some emphasis, some excitement behind that part right there, Christina.
Yeah. Okay. So with the LLC, like I said, it stands for limited liability company. That means that you have, less liability, right? So with that being said, if your business is sued, and you have to take action and you have to implement these tools before you even get to that point of being sued, especially if you're doing stuff like Turo, Airbnb, all of these things, you can be sued. It's like, I can't even tell you. So with those type of businesses that you guys are running, right? If you are being sued, the judge can pierce your corporate veil. We don't think about that because we don't think that far into the future. We're just worried about cash flow. We're worried about, okay, what am I, how much am I making today, right? I'm building that generational wealth today. The judge can pierce your corporate veil. If that happens, that means that the judge can go after you personally because you are the authorized member of that LLC. So whatever you have in your personal name, meaning your bank accounts with $1 million in it, now it's going to be seized for this lawsuit. Do you want to be in that position? I don't think so. So in order to protect yourself, you want to be with an entity that has full liability and gives you no liability, not limited, but no liability. Meaning that in the same scenario, if you have a car on Turo, and if somebody gets into a car wreck, right, and they're coming after you personally, right, or the owner, if the owner of that LLC is a business trust, then even if the judge pierces the corporate veil and it's the business trust, they're only going to go after the trust and the assets of the trust. So you are the trustee. They're not going to come after you personally. You have no liability, and it's vice versa too, meaning that let's just say that you were sued personally outside of your business. They are, just because you're the trustee of a trust, they cannot sue the trust. So you are protected both ways. That is the position that you want to put yourself in. You have to safeguard your legacy. You're building legacies. You're here for a reason, and you need to protect it because your neighbor wants to sue you. You don't even know it. I've seen court cases. I've read them. Your neighbor is plotting on your land. Why? Because they want it. They're going to have a double lot. Okay, so it's vitally important. If you're in business, you need a business trust. You need that business trust to be the holding company and own and have ownership. Okay, and like that's tomorrow. Like as soon as you open up this type of entity, you need to do your amendments and remove your name. Now let's talk about the private family trust, right? You're in business. Do you want to have all of your assets in your business trust, meaning your house, your car, your money, everything? No, because you're in business. That business trust might be sued, like we just said. So you need a separate trust that is your asset holding trust. That trust is going to have your insurance policies, your cars, your precious metals, like I said, all of your land, all of your real estate, right? That is a separate trust. Another thing is With business, you're dealing out there in the public, right? And so sometimes you might have to tie your business trust into a public, situation or the public records. So you need a separate trust that's 100% private, that is not doing these type of dealings like a business trust would be doing. Okay, so with your business trust, it's going to have a beneficiary. That beneficiary is going to be your private family trust. With your private family trust, it's going to have a beneficiary. The beneficiary of your private family trust is going to be your inheritors. Your beneficiaries are your children, right? Whoever you want to leave your legacy to, whoever you want to leave your property, your wealth to, those are going to be the individuals that are the beneficiaries of your private family trust. Okay. And the last one that we recommend is a tax exempt trust. This trust is a nonprofit. It is tax exempt from every tax that you can think of. So you do not have to file federal taxes, state taxes, sales taxes, property taxes, inheritance tax, anything that ends with tax. You do not have to file. You don't have to report your financials as you would have to do with a regular nonprofit, right? That is created through the Secretary of State. There are so many rules and regulations with a regular traditional nonprofit, and you do not get automatic tax exemption with a nonprofit. You have to apply for a 501c3. With this type of trust, it is the only exception to you actually having to apply for a 501. So with this type of trust, you have to designate it as a 508c1a trust, which it has many other names. Some of the other names are church, ministry, convention, faith-based organization. Those are names that you can use interchangeably with this type of trust. Like I said, you do not have to pay any taxes. If you got QuickBooks and you're doing your accounting, you don't have to report that or send it over to the IRS. So you are 100% private. And the reason why they have done this, which to me, it's, I call it a loophole, right? Is because of the separation between church and state. So a lot of people think that you have to be a church. You do not. Okay, you just have to have faith, right? So it has to be considered a faith-based organization to where you have faith in anything, right? So it has to be in your trust indenture what your tenet of faith is. You could have faith in mankind. You could have faith in Jesus. You could have faith in water. You could have faith in the community, anything. There is no rules and regulations on what is the definition of your faith, or if it even falls within, religion. Okay. So that can tend to be confusing. And I just want you guys to know that anybody and everybody can qualify for the tax exempt ministry trust, right? Another thing is that you can become an ordained minister in as little as 5 minutes. Okay. And that can actually put you into another position to where you are also tax exempt. Okay. So these.
Wait, Christina, look.
Yes. I
You
know.
moving too fast.
I know.
They are not understanding what you literally just said. So I have to roll it back. I'm sorry. I got to come in and chime in on certain things. Okay. So I'm going to use Sylvia as an example because she's very much a part of her church on a day-to-day. And I'm going to use Ken Logan as an example too, because he's part of the music ministry. Okay. So I want you to think about if you have an opportunity to have a ministerial trust, you can be an ordained minister in 5 minutes to get a tax break. Sylvia, how many popcorns you giving out to the community for the kids? You think I'm playing? I'm very serious.
No, I hear what you're putting down.
Miss Logan, you guys are setting up. Isn't that what Mr. Ken said?
Yes.
Why
had that.
is Ken not ordained? You see what I'm saying? That's you guys got a lot going on. That's another tax advantage.
Okay. He'll definitely be on that though.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's a tax break. Okay. Kenny, you over there smiling. I see you. I'm an ordained minister and I truly need this. Aretha, you never told me you was an ordained minister.
Yep, I've been a minister for about 10 years.
Shut your mouth. So
No.
I just got to show something real quick. I just got to stop something real quick. Okay. So because I need for her to see this real quick. I need for her to see this. So I want you to just for an example, I want you to see something super duper quick because you weren't on here earlier. So if you're an ordained minister and you decide that you wanted to gift, okay, some men that may be living in a shelter, I need you to think about this for a second. And you see your website right here, Aretha? Where your husband at? Aretha, you need to show your face. You good for not showing your face. Okay. Where your husband at, Aretha? Okay. So this site right here, where we can put a section for nonprofit, I mean, as a nonprofit, as you giving back to the community, so you can get some tax breaks. Hello, somebody. I don't think you guys are really paying attention. I don't think you guys are really paying attention. Okay. Aretha, do you see your site? Where's your husband?
Yes, ma'am. He's right here.
Okay. So there's a section on this site that needs to say that you guys are giving back, that you give 10% or 20% or whatever percent that is going to be to men's shelter for grooming. Where's Mr. Bailey? Because he don't never say anything.
Okay.
Mr. Bailey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You see your
Say
site,
something,
Mr.
honey.
Bailey?
I'm just saying.
You see
Yes, ma'am.
You see your site? So do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Nice.
So you
Yeah,
guys
nice.
you guys need to be, she's already a minister, right, Christine? Christina?
I am. 5 minutes.
But she
I'm an
already a
ordained-
minister.
I don't tell people, but I am.
So you could have been getting these write-offs. You understand what I'm saying? You could have been
Yes.
doing this. So now you got the vehicle from you guys' site to say, as part of our mission, we want to help men feel better about themselves. That's part of our ministry.
Yes.
And that's where you get an opportunity to get a write-off. Does that make sense now? Satira, you're
Yes.
always at the food shelter, the pantry. As you be, and you know how you're so giving as part of the community. This is an opportunity for you to give back. This is an opportunity for you to get a write-off. You're over there, trading. Some of them losses now can become gains. Does that make sense, Satira?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Some of those losses are now gains. I need you guys to think about that. Roxanne, Dana, any of you who are trading, if you're not thinking of the ministerial side of this trust, then you don't need to be on the call. I'm not trying to be mean. Trisha, turn your camera on for a second. We were talking about this earlier, about what you're trying to do for the kids. This is a ministerial portion. Okay? This is your tax break, your tax benefit. Is that making sense? This is why I want to make sure you guys, this is why I want you guys.
Yeah, it's like a new language, so it's coming.
Okay.
It's like a foreign language.
It is, but that's the reason why Christina and I are here for you guys, as well as Marcus. Okay. This is where we're trying to, Joshua has his ministry. He's a drummer at the church. He may want to help the kids become a drummer at the church or in music. Okay. And that is a ministry. When you give back and you support, it is a way of you ministering other people. So now you have an opportunity to write it off. Now you have an opportunity to put it under a nonprofit. Now you have an opportunity to put it under a trust and start benefiting from it instead of consistently wanting to pay taxes. So I'm gonna give you guys an example today. Dr. Porter, no, you didn't say that, Dr. Porter. Sonia, are you serious? Okay. Let me say this to my team real quick, because they're 12 hours ahead. Ulysses, Mike, you guys can go ahead and go. I'll see you guys later. Get you some rest, okay? Thank you so much, team. I appreciate you.
Thank you, boss.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Dr. J. Thank you.
All right. So those on the credit side, you guys got emails coming tomorrow for updates. So you'll be getting that email from either Ulysses or Michael, and a couple of you have already spoken to him. So I'm gonna get back. Thanks, guys. Get you some rest, okay? All right. So this is what's important.
Thank you, Dr. T.
You're welcome, sweetheart. Thank you, Mr. Mike. I appreciate you so much. So this is where we have to start thinking outside the box, okay? Mashanda, where's Mashanda? Mashanda. So I can go down the line on each and every single one of you. KJ, he's a ball player. He could be doing ministry to the little kids. Mashanda, you might be thinking about doing creatives for kids or even adults for that matter. It don't even have to be the children, okay? It could be adults who are trying to make a side gig and you're teaching them how to design shirts. That's a ministry, that's a write-off, okay? Terry, you may be wanting to help people in the real estate portion. You and your sister, because of the land that you guys have. And you want to show people how to protect the land. That's a ministry. Joshua, I told you. Satira, I told you. Shayna, you're a traveling nurse. You may want to show nurses what not to do when they're a traveling nurse. That's a ministry. DHS Homes, I don't know who that is, so you need to put your name on. Okay? Sonia, I already told you that. You be playing. Okay? Miss Yvonne is one of our elders in our community. She's been with us for the last 4 or 5 years. Miss Yvonne, all them grandkids, you need to show them how great you be doing at finances, which, how you got all the credit cards and how you got all this funding, okay? Reggie, you should have been doing what you're supposed to do. Steph, you should have been doing what you're supposed to do. Charles White, we already talked. Basically, you can say it again, Christina, in reference to the ministry portion.
Like how to become an ordained minister?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it depends on where you go to get it. So I went to a place called Universal Life Church. And with that, all you have to do is be 18 and older, put in your information, like your name and all of that stuff. And then within 5 minutes after you apply, you become an ordained minister. So then after the fact, you get your card and everything that you need, and they have training and resources and things like that, but you become the minister first, and then the training and all that stuff is optional if you want to, do weddings and all this other stuff that you want to do, but you have the title.
I hope you do more than just have a title. Okay. I do hope that you have more than just a title. Which jazz is that? Okay, if you have an iPhone, I'm gonna kick you up. Hey, Jazzy. I was like, is that my Jazz? Girl, you haven't been on the calls in a minute. If you have an iPhone, you need to name yourself, or I'm gonna have to take you off. Okay, so name yourself, and if you're H Holmes, DSH Holmes, you need to name yourself. So-
Just wanted to just give a shout out. I just signed up to be an ordained minister. It literally takes 5 minutes. They're right.
Shut up.
I can
She's
show it to you.
amazing. Listen, action takers are money makers.
Yeah,
Wait. Did you just do that right now?
just right now. I'll show it to you just right now. I just don't know how to turn my camera around.
Okay,
Oh, wait,
so
here,
I
saw it.
got screenshot. Guys, are you listening to this? Are you
Here it
guys
is.
listening to this?
Can we congratulate her for becoming a minister right here on tonight's call, please? Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Right, the proof is in the pudding, and she's showing us her certificate.
There you go.
Yes,
wait a minute.
knowledge is
We
power.
just
That's what I
put it
was just
on the view.
texting Dr. T. I'm like, I'm already on the site.
Okay, wait a minute. Go show your screen again. Kara, girl, I can't even get it out. Cara Dean.
Yeah, we talked this morning today. Remember?
I know.
You
I'm just saying, show
yeah.
you. No, I couldn't get your name out. Y'all see
Uh-huh.
that? And y'all thought this was some poo-poo.
You leave
I
money
was in
on
the
the
middle of doing
table.
it. She's right. It's
You're-
done. I'm
it's
ordering
done.
my official copies.
Wait,
Yes.
Leslie B, did you just do it?
I just did it. I'm ordering my official copies in the mail.
Right? Let me order
Okay.
mine too.
How many more is doing it? How many more is doing it? How many more is doing it right now?
I'm
Wait a
so
minute. Does that
excited
mean
for
I can't
everybody.
say it? Wait a minute. Does that mean I can't say a swear word?
I'm doing it as well.
I'm doing it as well. I don't know what we doing, but I'm doing
What
it.
we doing? What we doing it?
You're becoming a minister. What you mean, bro? What you doing? You're becoming an ordained minister right now.
Hi,
Oh,
Karen.
Let's do it.
I'm doing
Hey,
it now.
who's that?
Karen Dean.
Hey. How are you?
Good. What's
That's
up?
crazy.
Okay, what's the URL again?
Okay, drop the link inside of the chat so everybody can become a minister tonight. Okay, drop the link inside the chat. Come on, Trisha, you got this, beautiful. Okay,
I know, I'm waiting for the URL.
drop
You
it
can even
inside
order
for everybody to
business
see.
cards. They allow you to order business cards.
That is crazy. Leslie, and you couldn't get on dang on Zoom. You came on at the right time, huh?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Is this crazy? No, just drop the actual link. Just if you could, please. That's crazy, guys. Action takers. I keep trying to tell y'all. Wait a minute, Sylvie. You ordained. Jazzy, you ordained. How many more people? Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. You know, I got to record this one right here. This is crazy. Because I wants to know. Wait a minute. Hold up. I gotta record this because this is too much. She's almost finished, guys. Okay. Charles, you ordained.
You get your picture and your wallet license.
Wait. So real quick, I need everybody who decided to become ordained to say, Jazzy, I ain't seen you in a second. I'm glad you okay. Okay. Who's ordained real quick? Speak up.
Karen Dean,
Who's
ordained.
ordained tonight. So that's one.
Hey, Jay, ordained.
Okay.
Minister Jazz.
Minister Jazz ordained. Wait a minute.
Minister Ken Logan ordained.
Shut up, Mr. Ken. Okay. Who we got? We got Charles White ordained. We got Sylvia ordained. Jazzy J ordained. Terry already did hers. Trisha, did you do yours yet?
I'm doing it right now.
Wait a minute, you're going to be ordained, Trisha? You didn't think this was going to happen today, did you?
I just did it.
Oh my God, you're ordained. Okay. Okay, somebody drop the link. Okay, so we can get as many people ordained tonight. Kennedy is ordained. Go ahead, Miss Kennedy. Okay.
All right, all right.
Wait a minute. So father and daughter is ordained tonight. Okay.
And son, KJ's ordained too.
Oh
The
my
whole
goodness.
family ordained. You got a family full of ministers.
Oh my God. How did that make you feel? How did that make you feel, KJ?
You
How does
feel
that make
good.
you feel good to know that you're a man of purpose, right?
Yes, ma'am.
This is amazing. I am so happy. I am so happy for you guys. We got folks ordained tonight. That is amazing. Who else is still left to get ordained tonight? Thank you, Jasmine. I'm sorry, who else is left?
Roxanne, I have to do it, but I'm on the expressway driving.
Okay. Aviance,
But that's all right. I screenshotted it. So I know
okay.
everything.
Well, Roxy,
I was gonna say just click on the link so then it'll be open in the background when you park.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh my God, that's crazy. That's crazy. So we got at least 12 people ordained tonight. That is absolutely amazing. Shayna, I'm so happy for you.
I just did it.
Way to go, Mrs. Trisha. You wasn't expecting this tonight, were you?
I wasn't expecting it. So could you tell me again how you said it could work in my case with my students?
Okay, congratulations, Stephanie. Congratulations, Minister. So basically what happens by being ordained, you have an opportunity to, 1, create your ministry of trust. 2, you get tax benefits. 3, you can literally also acquire an actual nonprofit as well. And here it is, you can give back. That also puts you in line to receive even additional funding. Am I right, Christine?
Yeah, nonprofit grants. You're qualified for nonprofit grants.
And I have a question as well, Dr. T, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
Are you also eligible for tax exempt?
Yes, that's
as an
what we're
ordained?
talking about.
Okay.
You didn't get a chance to hear that part, did he, Miss
I
Ladar?
just walked in and got ordained.
That's you coming in the door getting ordained, okay? That is, I got chills, guys, because this is just an absolute blessing for folks who are going to have Trayvon, hold on one second. For those who have an opportunity to just really help people with their own mission. That's the whole thing. Whatever it is that you're passionate about, you have an opportunity. I'm sorry, Aretha, I put your link in there by accident. So just click on the link, Aretha, by the way. All right, hold on one second. Let me get this right here. Okay, let me repost this right here. Whatever you are passionate about, whatever you're wanting to help the community about, you have an opportunity to become an ordained minister, take the classes if you choose, and then create a nonprofit, have your ministerial trust. You're also going to be able to get grants and even more funding because of being nonprofit and ministerial, having a ministerial trust. And then you can give back to the community. And that, I don't know about you guys, but that's a great feeling. It's not just you take, it's now you have an opportunity to give back. That's what being a part of this mentorship is about. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. They offer nonprofit tax guides too. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Okay. Okay. So Christina, you got a little bit more to go. I'm not gonna do my best not to interrupt, but go ahead because everybody over here popping ordained ministry. This is beautiful. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. I just want to say congratulations to everybody for taking action. Okay. So applied knowledge is just the best type of knowledge, not you taking it in one ear and then leaving it there at the table and not doing anything. So congratulations to everybody. And you can actually go far with that. So you definitely want to have a ministry trust, and you will be, tax exempt from anything that you have dealing with that trust. So for example, the best example that I like to give is with the ministry trust. Let's just say that you are a real estate investor, right? With that type of trust, you do qualify for only one property though, for that property to be tax exempt from property taxes. Okay, so you're just going to go down to your, county recorder's office or your clerk of courts, whoever deals with the property taxes, and you're going to let them know that it's owned by a ministry trust, and then they are going to exempt your property taxes. I don't know how much your taxes are, but my taxes are $7,000 a year. So that's $7,000 that I'm now saving, and I can put that money somewhere else. So that's why I'm telling you that it's so important for you to save on the heavy taxation that they are, doing to us, right? So with that being said, now this property that is owned by the ministry trust, it is a investment property. Okay. And so you have a tenant in there. That tenant is paying you $1,000 rent, right? So now this rent is actually considered a donation to your trust, right? And your tenant is, is a member of your ministry or your faith-based organization, right? So they're a member, and that member is donating monthly to your ministry. And at that point in time, it qualifies, right? So you are tax exempt. You don't have to pay taxes on that income because it's a donation. So just think about that for my real estate investors, because that's a strategy that you can use to legally not pay any taxes on, income that you have coming in, because it's labeled a donation and it's from the, it's from the members. Okay. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to jump back on my slides. We only have a few left, like maybe 2 or 3. And then whoever has questions, we can go ahead and answer everybody's questions. So let me get back in there. Okay, so Dr. T had touched on this already, where you're eligible for funding. Okay, so that's where the credit portion of your wealth building formula happens, right? So like I said, with the business trust, you are eligible to build credit with this entity. Okay, it's an entity just like an LLC, just like you as a human person. So you can build credit. It can have, it can have a score, a paydex score. You'll do your net 30s. You'll do it the same exact way that you will build credit with your LLC, like how you guys are doing in this mentorship, is the same way that you are going to build corporate credit with your business trust. Okay. And like Dr. T said, you guys are eligible for nonprofit grants. Okay. So that's more money into your business, into your trust, into your ministry, into your whole structure. What do you do with the money? What do you do with the lines of credit, right? What do you do with the funding? What do you do with the loans, the grants, all this stuff? You invest it, right? So right now, during these, these times where we're going through economic crisis and we're not sure what direction the country is going to go in, there are 2 investments that I recommend. One is an index universal life insurance policy, and the other one is real estate, right? So with the index universal life insurance policy, it's called an IUL for short, and it's pretty much your, your insurance policy. But a lot of us, we think that insurance is supposed to be used or is useful when we die. But insurance is actually supposed to be used when we are living, because that is the way that you're going to put yourself in the position to where you are going to pay yourself first. I know that you've heard this term before, and this is where we put it into reality, right? I know that you have heard of infinite banking, private money banking, be your own bank, family banking. There's so many terms for this type of strategy, okay? And so the strategy is, one, you have an insurance policy, and the insurer is anybody who is attached to the trust, right? So the grantor, the trust is going to put a policy on the grantor, they're going to put a policy on the trustee, which is you, going to put a policy on the beneficiaries, which are your children, your next of kin, or the people who are inheriting the trust. Because you have to understand, with the trust, there's two types of assets. You have physical, tangible, tangible assets, which are like, monetary assets. But then you have human assets. Those human assets are the beneficiaries. The human asset is you. So what happens in the event that you, the trustee, the controller of the trust, expires? That's a loss for the trust. So the trust needs to be compensated. And the way the trust is compensated is through the death benefit, okay? So the trust is going to take out a policy on you, the insurer. So the trust is now the owner of the policy as well as the beneficiary of the policy, which means that the trust is the one paying the premium every single month. And once the insurer expires, then that death benefit is going to go to the trust bank account. Okay, so that $2, $3, $4 million is going to go to the trust bank account, which puts you in the position of preserving the wealth, right? Because you just lost an asset. And with a major loss like that comes a financial loss as well. But because of the death benefit associated with with that human asset, now you are preserving the wealth, okay? So your trust is going to take out a policy on the beneficiaries and every single person that comes after it. So your kids, we're going to take out a policy on them, the trust, right? Third generation, fourth generation, fifth generation, because again, your private family trust is going to be operating for 100 years. And I'm pretty sure that you guys are going to continue that operation for another, 100 years, right? We're building legacies here that are going to outlive us and outlive our children and our children's children. And this is the way that we do it. And this is the way that we safeguard our wealth. So let me go back to the point about you paying yourself first. All of the money that comes in, meaning all of your income, all of your cash flow, instead of you paying your bills, meaning your mortgage, tuition, groceries, gas, car note, all of these things, instead of you paying that first, what you're going to do is you are going to park that money into your insurance policy. So you're going to, let's just say $10,000 came in today. You are going to make a payment into your insurance policy for that $10,000. With this type of policy, you are actually building cash value, right? And an insurance policy is an asset. It's looked at as an asset in the financial market, okay? So with that being said, you can borrow against your asset. So if you have a cash value, you just made a deposit for $10,000, right? You are going to now, online, a couple clicks, you're going to request a loan for $10,000. Why? Because you got to pay your bills, right? So that loan is not going to come from your policy. That money is going to come from the insurance company. That's their money, okay? So your $10,000 is still sitting in cash value and is gaining interest. Why? Because if you have an index universal life insurance policy, that policy mirrors the market, right? The word index stands for, and I know that you guys are familiar with this, with the indices, right? You got the S&P 500, you got the NASDAQ, you got the Dow Jones, right? So you get to choose which indice you want your policy to mirror, right? I have chosen the S&P 500. So with that being said, typically the market gives you about 10%, right? 8, 9, 10, give or take, right? So your policy is going to gain an interest of whatever the market is doing. If the market is doing 8%, your policy is going to make 8%. If the market is doing 10, your policy is going to make 10. It is capped. So usually it's capped anywhere, it depends on the company, it's capped anywhere between 10 to 12%. So if the market is doing 15 to 25, you only get in what is capped at 12, okay? If the market is on a downward turn and it's doing -2, the lowest that you can go is 0, right? Meaning that you're not going to make any interest for that month or, you know, that term, okay? So there's no risk because you're not going to lose money like as if you had your money in the market, okay? So your money is not in the market, it's just mirroring the market, and the insurance company is matching you, okay? So that $10,000 is making 10% for the year. Keep that in mind. You just took out a loan for the $10,000 so that you can pay your mortgage, your utilities, your gas, kids' tuition. And that money came from the insurance company. It's a loan and they're going to charge you interest. So let's just say that they charge you 3%. So you're making 10 in the market with your cash value, and they're charging you 3. So you're going to net 7%, which is good, right? But at the end of the day, you put yourself in a position to where you are paying yourself first, you're getting the money back, and now that 10,000, you can do whatever you intended on doing with it, right? You can invest it into something else, or you can, fund your livelihood. So that is the position that you want to be in, to where you're paying yourself first, right? So where you're being your own bank, and to where you are utilizing this type of tool, because I'm not sure if you know this, but your insurance policy is tax-free, okay? So that means that that loan that you're getting is tax-free, okay? So that's one of the assets that the IRS, allows to be tax-free, okay? So with that being said, with this type of policy, there is a 3-year rule, and with that, with the 3-year rule, that means that, let's just say you have a policy already, right? All you have to do is contact your insurance company and let them know that you want to change the ownership. And so you are typically the owner and the insured, and your kids are the beneficiary. You want to change the ownership and the beneficiary to the trust, okay? And they're going to provide you with the documents. You fill them out, send them back, in a week or 2, it's done. That is how easy it is to transfer this asset into your trust, okay? Another thing is, like I said, with a 3-year rule. So if your policy is owned by a person, so currently it's owned by you, if you die tomorrow, your death benefit is going to be taxed in estate tax and inheritance tax. If your policy is owned by a trust, you die tomorrow, the death benefit is not going to be taxed in estate tax or an inheritance tax. But there's a 3-year rule, meaning that if you were the original owner and an individual, and now you switch the ownership to a trust, there's a 3-year rule, meaning you can't die within those 3 years. If you die within that 3-year window, then the estate tax still is going to be deducted from your death benefit. If it's over the 3 years, then you're out of that restriction. Or if the original policy is already taken out by a trust, then the 3-year rule doesn't matter. It doesn't apply. And then real estate, I had spoke about real estate already. So you can have your real estate be owned by the trust, and then you can have, tenants, short-term rental, long-term rental, whatever it is, and you can save on the property taxes, and that income can now be labeled as donations, and it will not be subject to tax, okay?
I have a question about the real estate transfer. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. When if a property, if you own a property and you transfer it into the trust, does the title, does in addition to the title being transferred over to the trust, does the existing loan itself as well get transferred over into the trust? In other words, does the trust now become the holder of the loan, or are you personally still the holder of the loan? If you already have an existing property, let's say I have my primary residence and I want to transfer it over into a trust. Okay, I get that the title transfers over into the trust. Does the loan itself as well does it now come under the trust or owned by the trust?
No, it doesn't. So you're only transferring you're only transferring the ownership of the property or the deed, right? You are not transferring the mortgage. So the mortgage is still under you, but now the trust becomes the payer of the mortgage. So because the house is owned by the trust, it's the trust's responsibility to pay all the financial, the financials dealing with that house. Okay. So it also depends on your mortgage company too, because I have seen it to where you can refinance and you can refinance into the trust. So it depends on you. But if you are okay with your mortgage still being in your personal credit, that is fine. So it's not going to, it's not going to hurt your mortgage in any kind of way. It's just the funds are coming from another bank account now.
And what if it's a new property being purchased? Does the loan and the title go into the trust if it's a new investment property?
So if you are purchasing the property under the trust, then yes. So you have to determine if you want to use your personal credit and then you want to purchase the property with your personal credit and using your W-2s, that's up to you. If you are getting a mortgage with the trust, which the trust can take on a mortgage, you have to qualify for that mortgage, meaning that you have to show trust funds, right? You have to show bank statements showing that the trust makes a certain amount of money and the trust entity can qualify for the mortgage. The trust can take out a mortgage and the trust can purchase the property outright without you having to be any type of guarantor or anything like that.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. All right, so now we're going to talk about the transfer of wealth. So like I said, you want to put yourself in a position of stewardship, not ownership. So you want to own nothing but control everything. I know you guys have heard this before. Own nothing but control everything. So remove yourself as the owner from all your assets and put the trust as the owner and now control all of those assets. You still have control as if you were the owner, but on paper you are not. As far as the transfer of wealth goes, you are going to list your beneficiaries and they are going to get either UBIs or TCUs. UBIs are units of beneficial interest. The other name for it is trust certificate units. Those are just like stock certificates. So it pretty much shows your interest in this entity, right? So let's just say that you have 4 kids, you want to give them so with the trust, it issues 100 certificate units. Okay. So with that being said, 100 certificates is equivalent to 100%. So if you have 4 kids and you want to divide it equally, then each beneficiary is going to have 25 trust certificate units, which is going to give them 25% beneficial interest in the trust. Okay. So that is how that transfer of wealth is situated. Okay. So for example, let's just say you had 100 houses, then you could, you could understand that 25 houses pretty much belongs to each beneficiary. Or if the trust had an income of $100,000, then $25,000 would be distributed to each beneficiary. So that's just the easiest way that I could explain that part. So some books that I recommend are What Would the Rockefellers Do? That's a phenomenal book. I know Dr. T, look at her, she's going for it. The other book, there it is. I already know. The other books that I recommend are The Art of Passing the Buck, Volume 1 and 2, Family Wealth, and The Complete Book of Trust. Those are phenomenal books if you want to, get familiar with a trust and the wealth building strategy that I've been explaining to you guys. Okay. So the last thing that I want to say is take action, right? So this trust is your new form of doing business and making a profit. It can solve a lot of your problems and provide exceptional asset protection and tax savings if you properly operate it, right? So you have to actually operate your trust. You can't just get your trust documents and it's a stack of 30 something pages and you just let it collect dust. You have to take the action and you have to treat it like a Fortune 500 company, like as if it was, an IBM, a Google, a Facebook, okay? Because you can grow an enormous amount of wealth by using this tool. This is what our past presidents have been using. This is what the 1% use, and this is what you need to be using. You can go through Dr. T so that we can start scheduling your services for the individuals who are getting their trust. Okay. So thank you so much for bearing with me on this presentation. And I'm super excited for everyone who has decided to protect their assets and protect their wealth. Over to you, Dr. T. You're on mute.
Are you done taking questions?
Yeah, we're going to take some questions. 1 second. Let me say this. If you go through Christina, your trust is going to cost $5,000 each. If you're part of the mentorship, it's already a part of your package. So like Trisha, Leslie, Dana, Sylvia, Joshua, the Logans, Mr. and Mrs. Logan. I'm trying to remember Satira. I think, yeah, you guys already have that. That's part of your package. Okay. So you guys get the trust. All right. Okay. So Tyrone, you had a question?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Well, I can't see you though.
Okay. So she was saying, oh, I'm about halfway. I got my clothes off and everything. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
She was saying that you could take your trust and basically orchestrate it like a business, like it's a Fortune 500 company. So you can take it and run it and orchestrate it just like a business.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so just the same way we build business credit, get funding for the business, the EINs, we can create and treat the trust the same way.
What you say?
Yeah, yes, so. Okay.
Which Kenneth is this one? Is this a different Kenneth? I got so many Kens now. Kenneth?
Yeah, that's Kate. Oh, that's not.
Okay, which Kenneth? Kenneth, what's your last name again?
Brooks.
Right, okay, all right, because I'm like, yeah, that's not the Logan Kenneth, because we got two Kens on the Logan side. Okay, Ken, drop your number in for me again real quick, okay?
Okay.
And we were at Della Ront's seminar, and we were like, oh my God, we got to get in tune with them. Like, it was
Yes. So yeah, just send on here your telephone number. Tamasha, I know I owe you. I'm supposed to be speaking at the event. Oh my God. You see, I've been running crazy. Okay. So I will be there. Okay, Tamasha? I will be there. Okay. All right. You responded. Okay. Kenneth and I thought it was a different name up here. Make sure you DM me. Leslie, go ahead, honey. This is what you wanted, right? What you wanted.
I was waiting for this.
Yes, go ahead.
Miss Christina, when you mentioned I am so interested in the life insurance, right? Mm-hmm. Do you have specific companies that you like to work with or suggest?
You go through Marcus for that.
Go through Marcus? Okay.
Yeah. That's the portion that Marcus, that's the other part that we have. So we brought
I'm
Christina
good.
on. Yeah, we brought Christina on because we can't do everything. I'm just like, I can't deal with that because I deal with this part over here. And Christina is like a daughter to me. So I'm just like, Chris, come on. So, but was she not great today, guys? I mean, let's just give it up.
Fabulous.
You know?
Fabulous.
Yes, absolutely.
So what do you call yourself, Christina? Are you the life coach or are you
Amazing.
Okay. Are you the minister, the pastor? Are you high priestess, the life coach? What are you calling yourself now?
I'm a trust strategist. I just help people, get their whole get restructured and strategize so that they could build their wealth.
Yes.
So yeah, but everything that everything that I mentioned today, you get it through the Fanpreneur. Okay, so all the investments, the real estate, the IUL policies, the infinite banking, all of that stuff, you get it in-house with the mentorship, the trust, all three of them, or if you want one trust, whatever it is. So go through the mentorship for whatever it is that you guys need, and the several different departments will take care of you.
And yes,
Can
so
you pull up those books again? I'm sorry.
can you put the books up again?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hold on one second.
So Chris is actually, so let me just give you guys a quick 411. We're doing a big event. We had gotten a sponsor who sponsored us for Invest Fest in, wait a minute, Sylvia, was you with us for Invest Fest? No, that was Circle of CEOs. So we're going to be at Invest Fest, August 25th through the 27th. And then we're having a humongous event here in Atlanta. It's going to be about 500 to 1,000 people attending. And that is the Family Business Summit. So you definitely don't want to miss that. We have featured families that are going to be there. Of course, my Christina is going to be there. The Logan family, which I'll be introducing you guys to, are going to be there. We're going to have a kids section where they're going to be doing the Kpreneurs, because kidspreneurs are already taken. So they're going to have a section for themselves. We're also going to have the metaverse and virtual reality going on. We're waiting to hear back from some of the sponsors. Actually, Christina is a sponsor of the event. So we're going to be giving away 10 trusts in September. And again, trusts range anywhere between 2,000 to, and it depends on, because it's more than just the 3 trusts that she named. And I kind of went over the trust, 6 months ago. There are different types of trusts that you can.
We making that money or we making that money?
Go ahead, Trayvon. Okay. So there are many different types of trusts that you have, that are available based on classification. We definitely know, I personally don't mess with revocable because it's a reversal, okay? That means it can be changed and you can be taxed on it. So you really want to be where it is protected, and that's generally the irrevocable trust, okay? So is there any other questions? Is there any other questions?
Could you drop the link for your mentorship? I'm not in it.
Carradine, oh,
Yeah.
Carradine, you remember you were gifted the LLC for your state. So
Yeah.
I got you when who is it? It's you and Mr. White. You guys were gifted the LLC. So we have to work with you on that on Monday. Okay. So we'll go through that on Monday.
To figure out the mentorship with you guys on Monday.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, because you guys won the free LLC. So we have to make sure you put your LLC in order so you guys can, and that was amazing of Durain. And so, we partnered with him on that. So yes, I'm excited for you and Mr. White, Mr. Charles White. Okay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. Charles is here. Hey, Mr. Charles. He's here. He was the one that won it. I think he was watching or something like that. Okay. Okay. So, Leslie B, you had another question?
No, I did not. Did I?
Okay.
I put my hand down? No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight. Didn't mean to hold you so long. Kenneth, I'll be calling you, as well as Dr. Who is Funologics Logistics? Yes, please follow my baby girl on there, okay? Okay. Yeah, so when you guys come on, you have to show your names because that's what I'm saying. I don't know who is who. And so you have to show your actual name, okay? All right, so that is our potion for tonight. Thank you guys for joining. We'll be back in the next 2 weeks. But then again, we do have a session for those who have a particular mentorship. You have a session with Marcus and you have a session with Alex coming up. So please be prepared for that. Thank you so much. Again, you can reach me if you're going to be scheduling an appointment. You can reach me here. Oh, you're welcome, Mr. Charles. You're welcome. You can reach me here, or you can go ahead and book your call. I've already spoken to quite a bit of you. I'm glad we were supposed to do Christina, we were supposed to do the down payment today. I'm gonna do that next time. Okay, appreciate you back. Yeah, I got the affidavits. I got the oh God, that means we're gonna be doing next time we're going to be doing an actual bill class. Christina, have you done yours yet?
The bill class?
Yes, we're gonna be going over the Bill of Exchange Act.
Yeah,
So-
no, not yet. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so we're gonna get these bills paid for sure.
Yes.
I'm not playing any games on this one. I got the affidavits for you guys. So let me stop the recording on